He's all right till he's not all right.
Hey guys, I'm Iyad Mohammed. I'm going to be talking to you about fire extinguishers. So before I start, we got two exits. We got one right here to the left, another one down the hall to the right.
Where's the bathroom at?
Bathrooms are, we got two. There's one to the, down the hall to the left, another one to the right, right by the exit. Right. So we're going to be talking about fire extinguishers and classes of fires and how to use them, when to use them, how to safely use them. We've got 5 classes of fires. Does anybody know what classes they are?
A.
That's one.
B. Class A. You've got Class B. You have Class C.
Okay, that's 3.
You have Class D. And you have Class K.
All right.
Why did they skip all the way to K?
That's just how.
Why did they make it E?
That's how the system is. I mean,
Okay.
yeah. So, does anybody know what each class represents? What
A
each
is
class
like
for?
wood and paper.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So A is
Ordinary combustibles.
ordinary combustibles.
Do you know when you use it for? Or
When
I
it's
mean,
burning.
when
When the
burning?
wood or combustibles, ordinary combustibles are burning.
Yeah, but when you use a fire
Trash can.
extinguisher, it's going to be for incipient stage of a fire,
When it's burning.
right? Like when it first starts, kind of. You're not
Right.
going to go in a house when it's just.
But you can
Fully
Burn it
developed.
up, yeah.
Yeah.
use a little trash can fire.
Yeah, you can use it for trash can. You could use it for. There's a little.
So a container, small container fires.
Small containers, yeah.
Not a room.
Fire pit.
If there's a little grass fire outside, you just squirt a little bit of
Not a
water.
room of contents.
No, you want to use that.
What's
for-
the limit? Where is the tipping point? That it's
Well,
okay
depending-
for one, but not the other. Where is that point?
So depending on the size of your fire extinguisher, like the water, or you could call it water can, it could go from 1.25 gallons up to, just probably like 5-10 gallons, and it depends on your fire situation. So if you've got like a 10-gallon, you could use it for quite a bit of fire, and you could really, if you put your thumb over the tip of the nozzle while you're squirting the water, you could make it last for a long time. You could put out a lot of fire with just a small water can. So it just depends on how well you can use it. But you just don't want to go into, a fully developed room like all that fire. You're not gonna do anything to it.
Sounds like it'd be a little bit subjective based on what the lieutenant thinks.
Yeah, I would
That,
say
as
that,
long as
and,
it's common
also,
sense.
and also your safety. You gotta look for your safety. You don't want to try to just rush in there. So, for
Are we talking about all of them?
No, we're still talking about Class A.
Okay.
Class A extinguishers. So for Class A's, they've got numbering systems for Class A and B. Do you guys know what the numbering system stands for?
No, you want your guys.
I'm not familiar with the number system.
So the numbering system, it's for Class A's. If there's a number behind it, it goes like 1, 2, 3. Each number represents 1.25 gallons of water or contents in the fire extinguisher. So if it's 1A, it means there's 1.25 gallons in the extinguisher. If it's 2A, that's 2.5 gallons. So it just builds from there.
Do we know what the highest number is? Like as far as I don't know how big a Class A extinguisher would get. Like what's the largest? 5 pounds, 10 pounds? I don't know.
Well, from what I read, I believe 5 pounds, around 5 pounds would be the heaviest extinguisher.
Okay.
Or else it'd be too heavy to carry, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you've got your turnouts on, that's a lot of weight. And if you're gonna grab a tool as well.
So a 5 pound extinguisher would a 5 pound Class A extinguisher would say 5A on it.
Yeah, no, it would be.
Or each number you said is 1.25
Yeah,
pound.
1.25. So if it's 5A, I'd be like
Okay.
6.25.
I get you.
So it'd be
It'd be 1.25
4A would be
times
5 pounds.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Alright. Has anybody used fire extinguishers on any fires?
I used one on the car I was working on one time. I was unsuccessful in working on it.
Like what? What happened to it?
It was a Volvo, and it had hard lines where in a regular American car it would be rubber hoses on vacuum lines. But this particular car had really hard lines that you can't just pull off and put a clamp on. Well, I burned it up, and it was burning. Those things are flammable, so I had to go get the fire extinguisher.
Do you remember what kind of extinguisher you used on it?
I just used ABC one.
Okay. You know how big it was?
It was like that, like the one we got on the wall.
Okay. Kind of like down here.
Yeah.
Alright. Anybody else?
I used one. It's a little diesel fuel spilled on the ground and caught fire, and we used a ABC extinguisher we had present and put it right out.
In class.
Possibly.
I used a water extinguisher. I put a trash can in.
I used to pop can one time.
A small trash can?
It was in the bathroom at
How did-
high school.
How did that catch a fire? Just somebody lit up something and
Teenager.
yeah.
I used the ABC extinguisher one time when it was a cooking fire stove, basically.
Okay.
Food.
How'd you put it out? Like can you like give us the process of how you want to put it out? Like did you get up
So
close to it and just spray directly at it, or?
we pulled up on the scene. It was a one-story residential with nothing showing, and me and my lieutenant went inside the house, and there was like a haze of smoke in the house, and the homeowner was there, and they just said, they had food on the stove, and so we went in there. It was whatever that they were cooking was on the stove, and it was on fire. So my lieutenant had me come out and grab the ABC extinguisher, and I really can't recall if I did a sweeping motion. I just know I just pulled a pin and pressed the trigger on it. I think I just did a direct attack with the thing, with the extinguisher.
Yeah.
I used a water extinguisher on a mulch fire at a restaurant. Somebody threw out a cigarette and caught the mulch on fire.
Okay.
Funny.
So, go to the grease fire. They say that if it's a grease fire, it's gonna catch the cabinets.
Mhm.
Sometimes it'll catch the cabinets and other woods on fire and
Yeah.
right on top, and that wouldn't classify as a Class K because now you've got ordinary combustibles that are on fire.
Mm-hmm.
So like it may have started with the grease, but
Yeah.
it's gonna start out. It's gonna evolve into the wood and everything surrounding that, which is
Yeah.
usually gonna be ordinary combustibles.
Mm-hmm.
So you spray that down, and then obviously you don't want to spray water at the grease because that will just have a violent reaction.
Yeah, this one there wasn't any grease. I don't recall. It was just burn up food,
Okay.
and I guess it was no grease involved because there was still some fire when we got there. But we used the ABC extinguisher to put it out, and there wasn't any extension past what was on the stove. We checked for extension, but there was no need to use extinguisher for the cabinets or anything else like that. So
Yeah. Yeah, London?
Yeah, I just a question. So what if you had a cooking fire and you used the ABC extinguisher on it? Is there something bad that could happen if you do that? If it was just like grease on fire, if you use the ABC, what's the worst that could happen?
No, it wouldn't have. If you're blowing directly at it and you're close, you could have the grease just kind of spill all over the place, and it would just make it worse.
It would be flaming grease, and it would get all over the kitchen and burn the whole kitchen up.
Yeah. So you'd want to kind of be at a distance and make sure that you don't blow directly at it. Just make sure that you're blowing at the fire, but not directly at the grease, so you don't just get it spread all over the place.
So if it got the cabinets on fire, could you use the Class K on all of it? Would it still work on the wood, or would it
Well,
not
you
work?
could use that ABC, and that'll put the grease out. So you could use it on the cabinets and work your way down to the grease, and that'll pull it all out.
Okay, thank you.
So moving on to the Class B numbering system. So Class B numbering system, if it's got the number before the B, that's just going to tell you how many square feet the contents could put out.
but what's Class B extinguishers for?
So like ABC, you could use, Class B is for flammable liquids. So if you got like gasoline or what else? I guess-
Kerosene.
Diesel.
Yeah, kerosene, diesel. So all that, you could use a
Petroleum.
Class B for that. I mean, like this fire extinguisher right here, it's rated for ABC, so you could use it for all kinds of fires. ABC, ordinary combustibles, then you got your flammable liquids, and then your electrical. So, but going to the numbering system, like I said, so it'd be 2B would be 20 square feet in that extinguisher that you'd be able to put out the contents out. So if there's like a grass fire or something, you know, that's how much you got for it.
Hmm.
Anybody know the Class D?
Class C?
Class C, yeah. So, like I said, Class C doesn't conduct electricity. You want to use those types of extinguishers on electrical fires, so that way you just don't zap yourself. And nowadays, if there's you know, we've got electrical cars, you know, the EV cars, Teslas. So you don't want to use an extinguisher on those, especially if it's fully involved. If there's a little fire, you know, especially if it's right under the car, that's where the batteries are. So you don't want to use like Class A or something that's going to conduct electricity and potentially zap yourself. So you got to make sure it's rated for C and be able to put it out that way if it's a small fire. Otherwise, it's going to need a lot of water, a whole lot of water.
Copious amounts of water is what you're saying?
Copious amounts.
Okay, just to clarify.
I've seen some people where or videos I guess, where they have a dumper truck, they pick up the Tesla and just drop it in there.
Submerge it.
Yeah, and that'd be the end of that. So.
Okay.
And then the Class K extinguishers for grease, you know, we kind of talked about it. You could use ABC on it.
I have never seen a Class K extinguisher used.
It's not. It wouldn't be Class K extinguisher. We've got in this department we've got four types of extinguishers.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the CO2, we got the water, ABC, and then Metal X.
Yeah. Isn't that the yellow one, the metal one we had?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So for the Metal X, you know, it's kind of what it says. It's used for combustible metals. Anybody can give examples of those metals?
A Volkswagen motor.
Yeah, I mean, could be
The
that.
old Beetles, yeah.
Some wheels are made of magnesium and they'll catch fire. If the brakes catch on fire, the wheels catch on fire and you have a problem.
So yeah, magnesium is the most common one. Nowadays you also encounter lithium, but magnesium, if you spray water on there, it's just gonna make it worse. You know, it's just gonna react violently and just gonna explode. It's gonna make a lot more fire than it's putting out. So you're gonna have to either just drown it or just let it burn if it's a car. So
Computer batteries are bad about that.
yeah, I guess most of the batteries will have lithium on them nowadays. So
The wall batteries now have lithium.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've seen a video of a drill overheat and catch fire.
Wow.
Yep.
Anybody have any questions?
How does the fire extinguisher work?
How do you use it?
How do you use the fire extinguisher?
We will talk about that right after this lecture. There's going to be another part to it where we'll go over how to work a fire extinguisher. What you got to do. So just a little brief, you know, about fire extinguishers. The NFPA 10 is the standard for fire extinguishers. So it kind of talks about, you know, how high you got to put the extinguishers above the floor, and it'll give you, it'll tell you how often you got to maintain it and check, you know, get it checked annually. Yeah.
So who's the ultimate decision maker on which fire extinguisher to use? So if you're just like a firefighter, like me, is that going to be on the lieutenant to make sure? Should I have cues on what it is?
Everybody should be knowledgeable about what extinguisher to use. Like the lieutenant will probably make the decision, but you should also have knowledge about which extinguisher to use. You know, like especially if he's got a lot going on, you know, you're gonna have to, if it's a kitchen fire, like a little grease fire, you know, you can just grab the ABC. You don't want to grab the water extinguisher and run in there when you know it's a kitchen fire, even if dispatch doesn't be clear about what kind of fire. Okay. So you'd always want to grab the ABC and maybe have the water extinguisher outside just in case. You know, you never know what you're going to encounter.
So ABC is the safest bet for most fires.
Okay. So going back to how high you should have above the ground, NFPA says it should be 3.5 to 5 feet above ground, above the floor. depending on the size of the extinguisher. So, and they gotta be in accessible areas. You can't have it behind, you know, a trash can or something that people are gonna have a hard time reaching in case they need it. So,
Do you have to have it in the kitchen? Do you have to have one?
you always have to have a fire extinguisher.
This is Unit 2, step out for a follow party call on Andrews Road, Engine 2, Unit 2.
What's that?
How about them Gap boys?
Alright, so second part of the class, we're going to be discussing how to use a CO2 extinguisher, or how to use an extinguisher in general. Alright, so there's an acronym for the operation of using an extinguisher, and it's 4 letters.
Pass.
Does anybody know? PASS, exactly. You know what it stands for?
Yeah. Point, aim, squeeze, sweep.
Pull,
Pull, sorry.
aim, squeeze, sweep. Yeah.
Almost had it.
So you gotta pull on the pin, and then take the horn out. It's called a horn, and for that one it'd be a nozzle. So you pull the horn out, and you just aim it where you're gonna fire it at, and squeeze the handle, and just start sweeping it. So those are the 4 steps to basically operating a fire extinguisher. You gotta always make sure you keep your safety in mind. So when you're about to use extinguisher on the fire, you got to make sure that you have an exit behind you. You never want the fire to spread between you and your exit. Always have an escape route. Depending on the fire, also you got to make sure you have your protective clothing on. If you're in a closed area, you want to wear your PPE, because the fire could have already used up all that oxygen, and when you start spraying your extinguisher, the SCBA, PPA and SCBA, so that way, your oxygen is going to be depleted, basically, using your CO2 extinguisher plus the fire eating up all that oxygen. So it's just for your safety. And once you put out the fire, once you aim, you squeeze the nozzle, put out the fire. You want to make sure that you don't turn your back on the fire. You never turn your back on the fire. You just walk back to your exit. And the whole time, make sure after you put out the fire, that you overhaul the area. Make sure that it's not going to rekindle again, or rekindle on you. So you back away from the fire. Make sure it doesn't spread between you and your exit. If it does begin to spread, or your fire extinguisher doesn't put out all the fire, then just start backing away. Start backing up slowly. Get to your exit, and then either get an extinguisher that will get the job done, or just pull a booster, pull a pre-connect, and put it out that way. So Kyle, would you like to demonstrate how to use a CO2 extinguisher? Lieutenant Hill, if you don't mind evaluating.
You want me to talk through it?
Yeah, just talk through it. Don't actually
Obviously.
right in here. But
Okay, so first I'm gonna pull the pin out.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm gonna aim it. Okay,
well, when you pull the pin out, what else do you gotta do?
the called the bill, he called it.
Yeah, the horn.
The horn, yeah.
Yep.
Big horn. Off. And then you're gonna aim, and then you're gonna squeeze, and you're gonna sweep along the fire, the base of it.
Yep. You're gonna sweep the base of the fire, sweep it up, and when you have the fire out, what are you gonna do?
We're gonna overhaul, make sure there's no rekindle.
How are you gonna overhaul? Are you gonna walk away from the fire, or?
No, we're gonna move stuff around to make sure there's no.
I mean, like before you start overhauling, are you gonna just turn around and walk out and get your overhaul stuff, or
No.
what are you gonna do?
Back up.
I'm gonna back up to the exit. Yeah.
There you go. You gotta back
Yeah,
away.
don't turn it
slowly.
back to the fire. Sorry.
Yep.
Understood that. Yeah.
So can I see you pull and aim without squeezing
Yes.
the trigger?
I will try and do so.
Can we not get it everywhere?
Alright, hold the pin. Alright, I'm gonna assume this computer here is on fire, okay?
Or you can assume the speaker down here.
Okay, the
is-
speaker, okay. I'm gonna aim at the speaker. I'm gonna squeeze, verbally saying it, okay? And I'm gonna sweep back and forth at the base of the fire.
Okay.
and then I'm gonna back away to the exit without turning my back to the fire.
And a moonwalk kind of
Good
fashion.
job.
Thank you.
Let's see if we can put the pin back in there without
Screw everything up.
discharging the.
Oh goodness.
Dear Chief.
I wouldn't make sure the whole line.
Huh?
I wouldn't laugh too hard.
All right.
Just pick that email.